understanding that the breath can help calm the mind, bring the mind to the present, where you can be natural, you can be you, who you truly are.
Hello, beloved soul sister brother community. So excited to be here with you today. This conversation, I can tell you because we've already been chatting back and forth with Ajay, is just going to be one you want to make time for. We are going to go into all different avenues around spirituality and how to really connect to your highest consciousness and your heart and your light. And I just want to say, Ajay, I'm so grateful that you are here and that you said yes. This is such a gift to have you.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's such a joy to be with you and excited for this conversation.
You and I were chatting and I was like, we better start recording because I really almost wish I'd recorded when we started. There were so many gems. And I'm like, okay, we're going to just dive in because you are one wise human being. And really would love to hear. Let's start for those who don't know you, Dr. Ajay. You can say your last. I said it wrong. Oh my gosh, Tejasvi. Did I say that right?
Tejasvi, yes, you didn't say it
Tejasvi.
yet.
I
Julie,
just
you didn't
want
say it yet.
Dr. Ajay
Ajay
Tejasvi.
Tejasvi, yes,
Okay,
yes,
I got it.
Tejasvi, yes.
So, where did your connectedness to spirituality? Can you share a little bit about when that began, what that looked like, what your kind of spiritual path has looked like?
You know, I was very lucky, I would say, and I was very blessed to be born into a family that had a deep emphasis on spirituality as we grew up. So it was like understanding that it's the same spirit that is within all of us, and it was encouraged to us uh, from young kids. And I say us because I have a younger brother, so both of us grew up in this atmosphere where there was an emphasis on the core human values that connect us all, and it was very simple. You know, our grandparents, our parents, and my guru as well, Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, they taught us about treat others as how you would want to be treated, and that meant like stretch your hand out first, make new friends every day, help those who need that help, or help those who are less fortunate than you are. So a lot of this was sort of imbibed from a very young age. And so for me, growing up, spirituality wasn't something that was separate from who I was. We are all beings of the spirit, isn't it? We're beings of the mind, body, and spirit. That's what we say, right? So, and without the spirit, this is just a bag of bones and just a bunch of different elements, if you were to look at it purely scientifically as well. So, that understanding that this whole world is your family, this whole world belongs to you, was sort of imbibed in us from a very young age. So we grew up with that sense of wealth, that we're so connected to everybody. And that has just grown stronger as I've matured in age, and hopefully in my intellect as well, my understanding, and to see how we're all so interconnected. We might think we're independent. We might think that, I can take care of everything myself. But the reality is that I'm dependent on somebody or the other for literally everything in my life. As a baby, we're dependent on our parents. As elderly, we're dependent on caregivers and hopefully our children as well. And in our middle age as well, we think, we can do it ourselves. But, even these clothes that I'm wearing was made by somebody in a factory somewhere else in the world, probably. It was grown by a farmer somewhere else in the world. So, I mean, even if were just to take the example of this, we live in such a world of interconnectedness. So, understanding that, realizing that, has just made it so much more enriching for me. And so throughout my life, I've found that um, what you look at really is what manifests in your life. How you look at the world. There's this saying in Sanskrit which says "Yatha drishti tatha srishti." The way, as is your vision, so is your reality. So If you go out looking for something that's not positive, something negative, that's what you're bound to find. And so for me, this is what spirituality means. It's being established in my own self, um, and being engaged with everybody around. So my understanding of spirituality is not something that I do after my 9 to 5 job, or like in the morning when I sit down for meditation all by myself. And for me, it's about engaging with the fullest of my presence, the fullest of my being. Your podcast, you say how to be the U.est you, right? And for me, that is what spirituality has helped me with, understanding who I am, and I'm still discovering that, learning more about who I am. And so I know it was quite a mouthful, but I hope that sort of gets to what you were looking for, Julie.
Absolutely. So beautiful. There's some real gems in there. And, first of all, you used some of the words, you brought up wealth. And I thought that was so incredible when you were talking about wealth connected to spiritual connection, spirituality. You also talked about we really, how you were raised. And the truth of it is, we can't separate our spirituality from, like it's not, okay, before 9 and after 5 I'm now spiritual. That's a blessing how you were raised, right? With that being imbibed in your every aspect of what you were doing, having, I know being around the Guru Dev and your family and people that lived, you've been living and breathing it. This is something important because I think for many of us, especially over in the West, where we're like, okay, action items and lists. I'm going to meditate. I was just doing talking to my mentor. I have the Course in Miracles. I'm a big fan of that book, and it's similar. A miracle is a shift in perspective. It's so similar to what you said, and we were talking about this is daily. This is a moment to moment. This is not, just here and there. It's not just an action list. And it flows out of you. You can tell it is who you are, and I think it's important to talk about that because it can become, I think what I've seen is it can almost become a like, I have to do this, or I need to make a to-do list and now check it off. And you said something about interconnectedness, and I just felt my whole body kind of just relax. Like, what a beautiful concept to really live that. So yeah, I just, any of that resonates for you. I thought there were so many
All
gems
of it
there.
resonates for me, Julie. I think it makes, see, the more understanding that we have of this reality. See, as children, we have this already,
Yes.
right? You go to a playground, we don't wait for an invitation. We just go play. We just go play with one another. You've seen, right? You were just talking about your children, how they're growing up. And as children, it was so much easier for all of us to make friends, right? We would just reach our hand out first. Now, what if we were to encourage that natural tendency? It's not something, spirituality is not something that's unnatural. It's something that's very natural to each one of us. See, when you go to a beautiful, let's say you've been to Yosemite and you look at the falls, you look at those beautiful vernal falls, and you're just like the mind just stills and you just close your eyes, isn't it? Forget about just, okay, maybe you haven't been to Yosemite. Any beautiful scene, you take it, and then what happens? That beauty takes you inward, right? You just close your eyes, isn't it? You're in front of this beautiful scene, and then there's something that's more precious within that's worth nurturing. And as a society, somehow we don't nurture those values within our children. We pay a lot of focus on just the head, which is do well in your math, do well in your science, do well in your social studies. But what about how I feel? What about my emotions? And what when I don't feel so good? What do I do about that? How do I deal with my anger? How do I deal with jealousy? How do I deal with like a sense of helplessness, right? Neither at home nor at school are we taught how to handle our negative emotions. And as a result, that beautiful child, that naturalness that we have, somehow grows up to something that's unnatural, where we feel so uncomfortable with our fellow human beings. So the work that I've been involved with the art of living as well is about helping people manage their own minds, learning how to deal with the negative emotions. And we do that through the breath. It's a very profound yet simple technique, because we've all tried this, right? We've tried to tell ourselves, don't get angry, don't get upset, um, don't feel this negative emotion or that. But how not to was the challenge. And so that's where understanding that the breath can help calm the mind, bring the mind to the present, where you can be natural, you can be you, who you truly are. So this I have found, when we are able to share a practical way with individuals. And see, the breath is something that's there with us all the time, from the moment we were born to the moment we pass away, right? We've been breathing, and on a daily basis, what is it? We have 22,000 gallons of air that we breathe in on a daily basis. That's one whole swimming pool, right? And it's a decent sized swimming pool that we breathe in every day. And yet we don't pay as much attention to this. Of course, over the last few years, there's been more attention to this. But when the Art of Living was founded almost 45 years ago by Gurudev, there wasn't that much of a focus on breathwork. So, as one of the pioneers of breathwork, what he has done, he's helped uh, foster a greater understanding of the role that the breath can play in helping ground us and live more full and meaningful lives, where a life, not just for yourself, but you can live with, you only feel fulfilled, or I would say you feel even more fulfilled when you have that, when you realize that there is this joy in giving, right? um, Gurudev often talks about the joy of a child and the joy of a grandmother, right? So a child loves to receive gifts, right? But as you grow, you find that there's a joy in giving as well, right? It's a more mature joy. So I know this was a little bit of a journey from where we started, but I just wanted to get to this whole practical aspect, because very often we make it a very intellectual construct. I have to be happy, and this was going back to what you're saying, no? This pressure. Oh, I cannot feel that. I don't want to feel weak. I can't feel let down, or I'm not enough. Right? All of these thoughts come up. And the more you try to suppress them, they get stronger, right? So, and as a coach, and as somebody who's a conscious thought leader such as yourself, you know this for a fact. In the realm of the mind, what you resist persists, right? So it's understanding these paradigms, having a paradigm shift, that the body and the mind work on opposite paradigms. For the body to be healthy and at peak performance, we have to work out, exercise, eat right, sleep right. But for the mind to be at peak performance, you need to learn how to relax and let go. And that's where the breath plays a key role. So, yeah.
I
This is what I've learned and I've been able to apply in my life and share it with so many people as well. Yeah.
I love where this conversation's going. Ajay, I'm gonna invite you in a moment. We're gonna do some practice, because I can already tell this is something, just I'll share a very, very quick story. I'd had a situation where I'm careful with my wording. I had a back thing happen where there was pain. It brought up fear, and I really couldn't move like I used to. And I started to get back in slowly into yoga. I had practiced yoga for a long time, and it was the only thing that really felt safe to try. This is a few years ago, getting back into it. And it's interesting. I just showed up, and some of the time I wouldn't even move. I would use the ujjayi breath, the breath that we use there, or sit and breathe by myself. It was so healing. And I'm somebody, As much as many of us know, I've struggled with how to be with anger, with jealousy, those emotions, right? Like, I'm a nice person. What do I do with that? And I found the power of simple breathing in yoga, and it was so moving for me. I went back, I did my YTT. I teach just one a week because I really love that focus. And it's still a practice. It always will be. And I love that you're bringing this up because there's such a hustle culture. There's such this focus on, I think those, who you are. I used to joke that I was like a type A plus. Like, what do you mean A? There's A plus, and I'm going to work way harder to do well and to, make sure things happen and that I'm able to, usually to do things I love and make a difference. But still, there's this force, and I love what we're talking about, that actually what really the part with the mind is, it needs rest, it needs release, it needs stillness. Let's talk for a minute about, so maybe you can use yourself as an example, jealousy, anger, some of those emotions that are not as comfortable. You can pick whichever whichever of the flavor you like best. And how might, because we can practice this here, how might you use breath? Like, we'll give a practical example to move through that, because I think that question is, how do I do that? Like, how do I actually, especially for those of us that are taught you got to be a good girl person, you shouldn't, have anger. And I know that we want all the emotions. We don't want to bypass them. How do you use breath through that?
It's beautiful that you brought this up, and I think just going straight to it, right? Understanding that the mind has an impact on your physiology through the various emotions, right? So you've observed, or if you've not yet observed, this is a great opportunity the next time it comes up as well. But this is where awareness is important, yeah, and it comes with practice. But if you observe, when you're angry, your breath is in a certain pattern, right? You've noticed this, Julie, about how you breathe when you're angry, right? How is it?
Absolutely.
It's short,
Shallow.
right?
Yeah, short and
Shallow and short.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's like
right?
I feel it
Yeah.
in
It's
chest,
it's up. It's
belly.
not it's not it's not down. It's not down the way like we generally breathe, which is all the way to your diaphragm, the bottom of the diaphragm.
Right.
And there's also when you're happy, there's a certain pattern in your breath. So this is the focus on the in breath, right? When you breathe in. And when you're sad also, there's a certain pattern. There's
Mm,
a focus on the out breath.
yeah.
So in the same way that the mind impacts the body through the breath, through different patterns, you can positively impact the state of your mind by breathing in certain ways. And this researchers have found even as recently as 20 years ago that they presented images of different uh, emotive or they wanted to emote different emotions in people. So they presented or they shared different videos, different images to people, and they found that the emotions actually produced a certain pattern. And then when they got people to breathe in that pattern, it also induced those kind of emotions. So understanding this, that there is a great secret in the breath, and by harnessing that breath, we can calm the mind down. Another technique I would say is also just becoming aware of where in your body you're feeling that sensation. So if you observe anger, it's around here, isn't it? When you get really angry, what happens? You furrow your brows, and then it gets warm right here in the region between your eyebrows, or what you can call a third eye as well. Now, it's interesting that the same energy that manifests here as anger also manifests as awareness. It's generally people who are very intelligent are the ones who are also prone to more anger. The ones who want more uh, perfection, right? You want something perfect, it didn't go the right way, so you get upset, right? There's a reason behind that. Or the awareness was low. So somebody made a mistake because of the low awareness, and then you get upset at that. Now it's not helping resolve the situation, right? So in such situations, what I've learned, and it's a practice, right? Over time, you observe, and when you observe the anger increasing in you, then you just take a few deep breaths and observe where in my body that anger is manifesting. And so when you observe it and you take a few deep breaths in and out, it flips. That same anger flips to awareness. So, or alertness. And that helps you then say, hey, okay, fine. See what's happening within myself, my own body. So the breath can bring us back to the present moment. That is the power of the breath. And this is why even yoga itself, very often people say, why is yoga so useful in helping people relax? It's because it helps bring people to the present moment. It's more than just the physical movement, as you know. It's also the breathing, right? And it's because the breath and the body are in the present moment. And it's only in the present moment that you can actually live. We live in the present moment, even though the mind is constantly swinging, right, between the past and the future. And even as we have this conversation, the mind might be doing its own thing. It might have gone for a walk, or you might be thinking about what you're going to do for the Labor Day weekend that's coming up, or it does its own thing. And so here's where gently using the breath, you can bring it to the present moment. And you talked about a technique. We can, we can use alternate nostril breathing. It's a very simple technique, which, if you'd like, we can experience.
Yeah,
And then,
let's
so just before we go in, I'd like to invite all of us who are here and who are listening to just become aware of the state of our mind right now. Yeah, what's happening in the state of your mind, and then we'll take another check-in after this technique. Yeah, so it's a very simple technique. What you do is you take your thumb. It's, as the name sounds, alternate nostril breathing. Very simple. Take your thumb, place it on your right nostril, your index finger, middle finger lightly touching the region between your eyebrows, and the ring finger and the pinky resting on your left. And what we do is we cover the right nostril, breathe out through the left, breathe in through the left, close the left, and breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right, close the right, and breathe out through the left. So this is one round. Yeah? Let's do maybe 4 or 5 rounds of this at our own pace. Yeah. And I would invite us to do this with our eyes closed, just to take the awareness inside as well. Yeah. When you're done, you can relax your palms and open your eyes. Did you notice any difference?
It's interesting. First of all, love that we just did this in this conversation interview. And the minute I closed my eyes, it felt like when I'm in bed and I put my covers over me, and I felt like this coming home. And it just, now I'm amped up because I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm still excited, but it felt like I had chamomile tea and maybe took a melatonin. Is what like, I didn't get so sleepy, but I felt very like, oh, I could actually,
Relaxed.
yes,
Yeah.
like I just took a bath. Something just, I felt everything let down. Absolutely.
The breath has such a restorative impact on us. It can both relax and rejuvenate at the same time. And what we need today, in today's life, in today's fast-paced life, is energy, isn't it? That's what, see, it's lack of energy is what causes us stress, if you think about it. Um, Somebody asked Gurudev, what is the definition of stress? And he said, it's having too much to do, not enough time, and not enough energy. Now, all of us have a lot of things to do. It's very hard to take those things out. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Now, where we can make a difference is by impacting our energy level. And that is, I would say, a secret that we can all learn, that we can all practice. And that's what the breath has to offer. The breath can really like bring our energy levels up. And when your energy levels are up, then you observe that you're on the game, right? See, there's nothing wrong in achieving, being successful, having everything. Very often people tend to equate spirituality with a nihilism also, right? Oh, nothing matters and nothing's, uh, that's only part of the journey. I would say spirituality is going from I am somebody to nobody, right? This is what the Buddha said, I am nobody. So Gurudev talks about this story, right? He says spirituality is a journey where you go from being somebody to nobody and from nobody to everybody, right? So and he explains this through this story, and he says the Buddha said, I looked inward, I searched and searched, and I found nothing. There was nothing, right? So there's this whole existence is nothing. I mean, I'm just oversimplifying, right? The Heart Sutra in one sense. And then from there, Adi Shankaracharya came, who was one of the propounders of the Vedanta philosophy. And he talked about how, who was that who was asking? Who was that who could not find anybody, right? Who went finding? That is the self. And that is the self that is worth knowing, learning about. And so it's that journey, and you understand, you realize that it's the same self, the same uh, life force that exists in everything all around us. And that, so even you would say in the philosophical sense, we're all interconnected that way, right? In the practical sense, we are interconnected, but even in the other sense. So it's very interesting. So all of these help uplift our mindset, help us look at life from a larger perspective. You don't think only about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. This larger perspective to me is right on time. And it's also ancient. And it feels like a truth, right? I love this reminder that you start as somebody to nobody to everybody. That lands for me. And different ways of saying it, looking at it, like almost really getting, in a, I would say, dimension of duality. And this actually reminds me of what you said earlier with anger, with breath, it can flip it to awareness. That was brilliant. I've actually never heard of it that way. And so, and then you look at, well, with duality, with the anger that flips to awareness, maybe it's all the same. Maybe
Yeah, it's just one energy that manifests in different forms.
that's right.
And that's the energy that's within us. So understanding that. So often, we put labels on ourselves. I am Ajay, I have a PhD in this or whatever. I'm somebody's father, I'm somebody's spouse, um I'm somebody's president, or I'm somebody's whatever, right? I'm a man, I'm a woman, all of these things, right? We have these labels and titles. When we were born, did we come in with a name?
Mm.
We didn't even have a name, right? Maybe 7, 8 pounds at birth.
Right.
Right? And now we're like, what, 140, 150 pounds? And see, all along this, we've also gathered along with that a lot of titles and labels, right? but understanding that at our core, who are we really, right? And that is spirituality to me. It's understanding who am I? What is this is science, analyzing everything around. And who am I is spirituality. And these have always been complementary um, in the Eastern philosophy, in the Vedanta, where questioning was an essential part of your growth. You had to question the status quo. You had to question, what is this? Understanding. And then realizing that there's at one point there's something more than understanding. There's an experience, right? There's this journey from the head to the heart, and understanding that we are beings of both head and heart. And for a balanced perspective on life, both need to be nourished. You cannot go through life only having a logical, rational sort of a nourishment. We also need to learn to nourish our spirit. And for that, meditation, music, art, all of this is very important. And so is, feeling that sense of love, feeling that sense of connection. We know this. We're social beings. Humans are social animals. We know this. And so somehow that has to be revived, or I would say reminded for people. And that is a lot of the work that we're involved in. I think you are doing the same thing too, Julie.
I was just going to
Uh,
say,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I also think there's this aspect, right, where we say this is good, this is bad within us, right? Now, I would say that this is nature, understanding that there's a complementary uh, aspect of nature, right? That it's the reality. When there's light, there is darkness somewhere else. You cannot understand. Darkness is just the absence of light in one sense, right? So just having that perspective that opposites coexist in nature and that we're part of nature. So there are highs, and we wouldn't realize that we had highs or that happiness without some sense of, some sadness that we've experienced in life, some lows, right? So allowing for this understanding, or allowing for this opposites in our lives, gives us the space that you don't think, oh, when you're having a difficult moment or difficult time in life, that my whole life has been this way, right? The mind does this to us, and it's not true. And I know now we're going through a particularly tumultuous time for the whole world. um, doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you belong to, there is a lot of heartburn everywhere. Families are experiencing this, and here, we're very close to the nation's capital, and we see this, right? And it's tearing families apart. What I would say is, yes, there are things that we don't agree on, but there are so many things that we agree on. If you were to ask people, I would say 95% of the things we agree on, maybe 5% we don't agree on. We have to find a way to make things work, because the challenges of today are so large that no single group can solve it by themselves. It needs us to collaborate, it needs us to come together, and take it forward. So, this understanding, this comprehensive understanding of life, people think if I'm spiritual, then nothing bad should happen to me, or, I will always be happy. In my experience, it's been that spirituality has given me the resilience to deal with challenges in life, because life gives us challenges, and having the strength to face those challenges, moving forward and overcoming them. That, I believe, is the true essence, the true strength of spirituality. Does that make sense,
Beautiful.
Julie?
Absolutely. I was just thinking about you wouldn't see the stars in the sky if it weren't dark. And you can't without the contrast in this realm where we live here, right? That's where we are in Earth. And you have to have darkness to see those stars. You can't see it's hard to see a match, a flame, a candle if it's not, you see it best when it's dark. I mean, it's just there's an acceptance that I'm hearing underneath it all, the awareness and acceptance and an allowing when I'm hearing you speak. Um, one of the thoughts I had, and I love what you're saying, I'll say one other thing with that is getting that it's okay to see things differently. It's not about me convincing somebody to vote the same way, to think the same way, because actually all of our different aspects, first of all, as you said, 90, 95% is probably the same as human beings. You said earlier, what do we look for? Connection, heart.
Exactly.
So staying in that realm. I'm curious, this is going a little bit more into the self work, where what I see a lot with clients, I've experienced myself with humans, is this. You mentioned it early on, that not, and I'm not, they're not good enough, they're not feeling worthy. So we were talking about, which we could too, collective and what we're seeing out there. And I'm curious what's going on in there, like from your perspective. One of the aspects of this is perfectionism, is the not feeling good enough, the putting people on pedestals, which I always am mindful of, because when I start to do that, what happens is then you have people not on a pedestal. You have your, and frankly, even as we talk about, I think it was Ram Dass, right, who said we're all walking each other home. I love that quote. And having gurus, even, who my experience has been some of the most humble human beings are actually the gurus. So maybe we can talk for a minute. I hope I'm making sense, Ajay, but
Yeah, Julie. This is great actually. And see just the last point that you even touched on, right? There's this innate human tendency to look up to something, look for inspiration somewhere outside, right? And this is where having a guru who's realized can help you. It's not, see, for other questions, we have Google. But to understand who I am, we need to go to somebody who has realized who they truly are. And so that is the purpose of a guru, right, in our lives. So, and you talk about the simplicity and the humility. This is Guru Dev. This has been my experience with him, that
yeah,
he will hold the door open for like people. He will hold the door open for elderly people, for elderly ladies. He stands in line, so humble, like he is, and he's present. He will walk the talk. He walks the talk. So this is very inspirational for us. And at the same time, you also see the skill in dealing with so many different kinds of people. And you look to that and you realize that, through these teachings, that I am much more than this body. And
yeah,
so going to that space, right, Julie, which is like understanding. So in the Art of Living, the Part 1 program, you learn a little bit more about your own self, who you are. So you see that there are 7 layers to your being. At the most, I would say tangible or gross level is your body. Subtler than the body is the breath. You can feel it, right? Subtler than the breath is your mind. What is the mind? The mind is that faculty, that aspect through which you perceive. It's the you can say I see through my eyes, but what is seeing through the eyes? Right? What is listening through the ears? What is tasting through your tongue? Right? What is feeling through the touch? So it's and what is smelling, right, through the nose? These 5 senses are in one sense are doors to the outer world. And it's the mind that helps you perceive, right? And the nature of this mind, understanding a little bit about the nature of this mind, that it's like a monkey in one sense. It's swinging constantly from the past to the future, past to the future. Either you find a lot of times it's glorifying the past, saying, oh, those were the best days of my life, or it is anxious about the future. Or it could also be angry about the past as well. A lot of us often have that tendency. So understanding that this is a tendency of the mind. Yeah. And as if that weren't bad enough, the mind also has a tendency to focus on the negative. You pay somebody 10 positive compliments. Once, maybe you forget to mention something, what is it that the mind tends to hold on to? Right? It's just understanding this. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It's just understanding. Because awareness can help you go beyond that challenge, isn't it? If you're not even aware, then how do you deal with it? Right? So the mind, understanding a little bit about the mind. Subtler than the mind is your intellect. Intellect is that faculty that helps you discern, that helps you decide, judge in one sense, right? Right now we are having this conversation. There's something in your mind or in yourself, I would say even subtler than the mind, in your intellect. Are you aware that it's saying yes or it's saying no? Or something's happening. Maybe I agree with that. Oh, does that make sense? There's a conversation happening within us as we are listening to this, right? That is the intellect, that which helps you discern what is good and what is not so good. Huh? Subtler than that is the memory. The memory is where we store all of these different impressions in life, right? So, from all the childhood memories to our time in high school and university, our workplace with our loved ones, all of these are stored in our memory. And here also there is this tendency of the memory to focus on some of the negative, right? Um, my mother baked this yummy butterscotch cake 10 years ago, but she forgot to put those cherries on it. And somehow my mind or my memory doesn't recall the deliciousness of the rest of the cake, but I'm like, oh, she told me she forgot to put the cherry on top. So that's what I somehow store. So understanding this as well, that the memory also has a tendency to focus or store the negative aspects, can help us come over it, get beyond it. Because life has not always been miserable. Very often you see people who are in a difficult time, they often think, oh, it's been so miserable the whole time. No, it hasn't. Really. So understanding this can help you come out. Yeah. Subtler than that is the ego or the sense of me, right? So, and this is there in all of us. And many people say, oh, I have to kill the ego. I don't want the ego. I'm so humble. That's also a sense of ego, isn't it? Or you have an ego that big, which is unpalatable. So, uh, have an ego that's the size of maybe like just as much salt you need in your food. Right? Too much salt makes it unpalatable. Right? And we all know of a few people who have such a large ego that it's difficult to be around them. Let's be honest, yeah. So this is that, and it's also the ego. Also, it's there within all of us. Right? It's also that faculty or that aspect that leads us to feel a little uncomfortable in crowds or around new people, whatever it is. And you said, no, like when you closed your eyes, you took a breath, you felt at home, you felt comfortable, you were in your safe space, right? So realizing that through the breath you can go back to that sense of naturalness. And subtler than the ego is the self. That's who you are. There is some faculty within us, some aspect within us through which we know everything is changing, right? Isn't there something in you that tells you, oh, you know, children have grown up, parents have grown up, like everything is changing around me, but still there's something within me that's the same, isn't it? We all feel that. Something within you. Because if everything is changing all the time, then how do you know anything has changed? So it's that aspect of yourself which does not change. And something you feel, when you feel relaxed, when you feel happy, you feel a sense of expansion. And when you feel fearful or when you feel anxious, you feel a sense of contraction. What is that? That is worth knowing. That is the self, the spirit, Atma, whatever you want to call it. So we are made up of these 7 layers. So understanding about this can then help us approach how we want to deal with ourselves in a different way. Then you don't think I'm only my emotions. You realize you're more than your emotions. You're more than your thoughts. You're not just your thoughts and emotions. And that's very freeing. That's very empowering. Don't you think so?
Brilliant. Absolutely. I love the structure, the 7 layers. And, it's interesting because I've studied this in different ways. The way you just said it was so clear. And it's almost like I can feel those Russian doll sets where you have like the little one
Exactly.
inside the
Yeah.
big, it's like, I'm like, oh,
Babushka dolls, I think they call them. The
yeah, we're like,
babushkas. Yeah. Yeah.
and when I think about, I do a lot around intuition and connecting to the subtler, more subtle senses, the third eye, the pineal gland, seeing beyond seeing. It's very cool to take that and really match that up with the different layers. When you were talking about the self, and I'm like, that's, to me, your You-est You. That's your soul self. That's your unchangeable. It's funny, someone just sent me yesterday out of the blue a quote. I almost want to find it. And it literally said, that which changes, um, it's not real, and that which doesn't change is real. It was like the opposite of what we think, meaning the aspects that change and fluctuate are there, and the aspect of us that is eternal doesn't change. Does that?
Yes. Yes. And
That
that is the eternal truth in one sense.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
important to remember
Yeah.
and remind ourselves of. I'm curious, Ajay, because I do a lot with I know there's more than the 7 chakras, but we have, at least in the West, we do a lot with the 7, right? And I know there's
Yes.
many more energy centers and wheels. Where would you, as someone who, I do a lot with energy and using that, I feel those different, I love bringing in the different Sanskrit mantras. Where does that fit in for people that are into energy healing, into connecting to the chakras? Or is that more the subtle? I would imagine that's the energy body. I'm not sure what.
Yes, that is the subtle body. You're right, Julie. It is. See, we are beings of energy as well, right? I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
So there are many layers, and those energies. Then that. So even we're called. I mean, so Narayana in Sanskrit means the energy that lives within the nervous system. Nara is nerve. So it's very. I would say symbolic in that sense that the divine lives within each and every one of us, and so so as you shared, that same energy manifests in these different centers as different energies. So in the base of the spine, the same energy manifests as either creativity or no, actually at the base of the spine is inertia or a sense of uh, uh, it's let me just say, yeah, inertia or lethargy.
Right.
You need a little bit of that as well, right? So I would say, that same energy then moves to your sex center as and manifests as creativity or procreativity,
Mm.
both, right? And then in the stomach, the same energy manifests in the stomach center, and it manifests as 4 different energies, as jealousy, greed, or generosity and happiness, right? 4 different ways. That same energy moves to your heart and manifests as 3 different, uh, I would say, sensations or emotions: love, fear, or hate. At each time, only one manifestation can exist. The same energy moves up to your throat and manifests as gratitude or grief. See, you say throat chokes in either aspect, right? When you feel very grateful, also your throat chokes. And when you feel a sense of grief, also your throat chokes, right? So that is something that it's when you become aware of this, it just lifts you up in one sense, right? And then the same energy manifests in between your eyebrows as anger or alertness. And at the top of the head, it manifests as bliss. So this uh, upward and downward flow of energy is what often manifests in our system, and we tend to think that these different energies are what we are, or these different emotions are what we are, when reality is we are much more than um, all of these different energies. So just understanding that even can help us just come over it. So I would say just to all of the people listening to us, right? I would say know that you are beings of incredible energy, right? And the same energy that manifests as different ways. So uh, yeah, it's it's uh, it's just a very it's we're very special in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like a to me, what I'm getting, first of all, beautiful. Thank you for explaining. Also, again, we have the duality, and we tend to focus. I mean, I have a huge poster behind me that has the chakra system that's very in depth, and it's hard to read without my glasses. But we tend to focus on what we would think of as more the positive in quotes energies, and to remind ourselves there's both, right? So in the solar plexus, jealousy and greed, like, okay, and just like you said with the third eye, it can go from anger to awareness. We can go from that greed or jealousy to happiness, to gratitude, and at any time, I keep seeing I keep getting this image of a bridge, like the bridge is awareness. When we have that awareness, it's so powerful. I love this reminder, Ajay, for everyone. I also want to say the work that you've been doing that comes out of the Art of Living Center is absolutely incredible. I was so grateful to get to teach last year, and I'm going to be back in July in North Carolina. I know there's centers all over. It's so important. The work, there's so many beautiful programs, and I know you and Guru Dev and others that are coming to teach. Like, we'll have all the information for people that might want to learn more, because what I have to tell you is the energy. It was my first time there. Was I really felt, we talk about energy, it was like peace. Everyone, we're all human, and there was just this essence of living in awareness and peace and goodness. It's a
Hmm.
great way to explain it. It was such a beautiful experience to be there.
See, when your energy is uplifted, then a lot of things make sense in your life. So it's um, I would just say I would just say if we find ways of uplifting our energy, I think that is the key. And the way to do that is really focusing on the different sources of our energy as well,
Hmm.
right? And this is where I think a little bit of attention to food helps, and having the right kind of food. Your nutrition makes a difference in the amount of energy you're able to get within yourself. It's also the same case with sleep, the right amount of sleep. How much sleep? Too much sleep makes you also dull. Too less sleep also doesn't give you that energy. So that is another thing. And then also having a pleasant state of mind, having a meditation practice can help you rejuvenate. Because see, 20 minutes of worrying is like 8 hours of hard labor. You feel so tired, right, at the end of it. And also understanding that there is a great secret in the energy that the breath brings about. The breath is a big source of energy for us. So realizing these different aspects is critical for us. And this is where the art of living has been able to make it very practical, very, very practical. So yeah, like you were sharing, it's an open invitation for everybody to come check out the work of the Art of Living. Folks can go to artofliving.org to learn more, and also maybe join you also at the Art of Living Retreat Center and learn more. And Julie, I would love to welcome you also to experience the program. So there is a part one and a part two course, but at the Art of Living Retreat Center we offer this as a combination. It's called stepping into silence. So you move through an understanding of who we are. We learn some of the foundational breathing techniques. And from the foundational breathing techniques, we move into a little bit of silence. I would say a little bit of digital detox also, because we're so connected outside. This is a time for us to connect inside, to understand who we truly are, what is this energy doing up and down. So I think this would be a great opportunity for us to truly learn about who our U.est You is, and really live that 100%.
Mm,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
I'm a yes. I was like, yep, I'll be there. Whoever wants to join me, we're there. I'm there. Ajay, I mean, my goodness, there's so much you said. My instinct was, and I just want to share with everyone, you have incredible credentials, a PhD. I mean, you do so much in leadership and bringing people together. I just felt so guided. I'm so grateful for the breadth and depth as we went into really understanding the who we are, right? And that journey and the spiritual aspect, which is not a 9 to 5 or exclusive for certain times. It's who we are, and it's a 24/7 thing. It's a beingness.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's not a seven, it's not like a nine to, you do, it's not something that you do after your 9 to 5 job.
exactly. Right,
It's
right.
something that feeds in.
Now
We
I'm
don't live
on.
life in compartments, right? We have
That's right.
everything bleeds into the other, everything
Yeah,
feeds into the other as well.
that's right.
So just understanding that.
Yeah,
It's yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Any last, we call them heart flares here, where we kind of give your heart the mic, right? Your heart might have just a message or something that I didn't ask you or you didn't say, just maybe a closing word message for everyone that's coming through you. We like to end with that.
One of the things I've learned in my life is that um, there's so much good in the world around. And when our mind is in a positive place, then we're truly able to accept that. You're able to open yourself to new possibilities, new ideas. And in today's world, when we see so much strife, there's so much of a challenge everywhere, right? That we see with AI, and with all of the different conflicts around the world in our societies. I would say find some time to strengthen yourself, find some time to make yourself more resilient so that you can be positive. You can be a positive force for change in the world. Us also joining the bandwagon of complaining about the state of the world isn't going to help it. So, spirituality for me truly is being able to feel empowered, to be able to do what it is that we can to make the world a better place. Spirituality is about being or living life to my fullest, truly enjoying this beautiful creation, and that depends on the state of my mind. And when I'm able to take care of the state of my mind, I'm able to offer the best of who I am to the world. Otherwise, if I'm upset, that's what I'm going to offer everywhere else. And so, learning how to manage your own mind, connecting to yourself, finding that source of energy within, then truly enables you to feel that connectedness with people around you, helps you feel that sense of belonging to people around you. So for me, I look at this as the ABCs of, I would say, leadership. As somebody who studied leadership for a while, I would say A is the awareness of my own thoughts and emotions, and understanding how to deal with my own thoughts and emotions, and the awareness of who I am truly, which brings me to a sense of belongingness, a sense of connectedness to people around. Yeah. And from that comes a sense of commitment, the C, the commitment to make the world a better place for all of us. And so only a lit candle can light others, right? So I would invite all of our listeners to learn more on how to light their own, or light their own candle in that sense, and be a force for positive good, for positive change in this world. Yeah. um
And so it is.
it's been such an honor, such a pleasure, Julie, to speak with you. It's such an uplifting feeling. Julie, one thing I want to correct for the listeners also, and I was talking about the different energy centers, right? And at the base of the spine, it's inertia or enthusiasm.
Ah, okay.
Enthusiasm or inertia. And the second can be creativity or procreativity. Yeah? And the third is joy, generosity, or jealousy and greed. Heart is love, fear, or hate. The throat is gratitude and grief. The third eye is alertness or anger. The top of the head is just pure bliss. And that's who we are. So learning how to move this up is is the play, it's a play. So
So,
yeah.
thank you. Wow. I feel like this was like wisdom from thousands of years condensed into this conversation. And Ajay, thank you so much for sharing so graciously and generously and from your heart. And there's just a lot for each of us. There's so much here to take in and to sit with, and love the actionability and that we practice the breath and really coming back to, awareness and remembering the mind, how it operates. And I just keep seeing holding sacred space for each of ourselves wherever we are. And can we also do that with everyone else? So,
It's beautiful, Julian. And one of the things I feel like all of this, right? All of this work helps us maintain mental hygiene. See,
yeah,
just like 120 or 130 years ago, people wouldn't brush twice a day. I mean, we know this.
right.
Dental hygiene was not prevalent so much. I think as society progresses, there's a great need for us to be able to practice mental hygiene as well. And I think all of these techniques, these approaches are about maintaining that mental hygiene. So it's so essential and so timely.
So essential.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So brilliant. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And thank you so much. This was just a really, really powerful conversation. I'm so
Thank you,
excited.
Julie.
This is
Thank
what
you.
it is to be your You-est You, right? Is to do this exploration, to dive in, to raise your awareness so you even can start to look inward and to look to feel and learn and live. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you for who you
Thank you.
are, what you're doing.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And
Thank you, Julie.
thank you. And I always like to thank our beloved community, you, my listener, wherever you are, near and far, we are with you. We are one. So from our heart to yours and back, may this conversation bless you and help you remember your infinite, eternal light nature. May you continue, as Ajay said, I love this, continue to light the candle that is you and continue to use that to light every other candle that you see and that you encounter. Namaste.
Namaste.
What if the key to making money as a coach wasn't doing more, but was actually doing less? So many heart led women hold back because they doubt themselves, because they feel unqualified or fear that they're not going to make money doing what they love. The truth is, your struggles are your sacred stepping stones. When you trust your intuition, when you learn to simplify and allow yourself to receive, you can prosper as a coach with ease and with confidence. That is exactly what I'll be showing you in my free workshop, The Prosperous Coach: How to Make Money Doing Less and Coaching with Confidence. You're going to learn how to shift from self-doubt to soul trust. You're going to learn the number one skill that every prosperous coach needs and discover how to make money doing less. Seats are free, but they are limited. So make sure you register and say yes to becoming a prosperous coach.